Welcome back, students. Today we're jumping into looking at an article on the biometric body. But before we do that, we're going to review a couple of terms just to make sure that we're completely understanding everything. The main question that they're asking throughout these next couple of days is that essential question that's posted at the top of the page that's in front of you. And the essential question is technology helpful or harmful to society? So we're going to review this really quick. Genre and text elements, the controlling idea, and the claim. So in both informational texts and arguments, the writer presents a main idea. This idea serves somewhat different roles in the two types of nonfiction and is referred to in two different terms. Informational texts feature a controlling idea or a thesis, the idea that the writer explains. So controlling idea goes with informational texts, and it's a thesis that the writer explains, an idea that the writer explains. Arguments present a claim. We've talked about claim a whole lot. And this is the position that the writer defends or attempts to prove. So your claim statement is what it is that you're arguing about, the side of the argument that you are taking. So authors use supporting evidence or reasons and information to develop main ideas. They may also use a specific organizational pattern or text structure to connect ideas and evidence. Signal words provide clues to the type of organizational pattern being used. And so we're going to look at that chart below. These are examples of organizational patterns. Comparison and contrast. This shows similarities and differences among two or more topics. Some example signal words could be alike, unlike, both, neither, although, same, different, by contrast, in comparison. Cause and effect organizational pattern. This discusses the reasons that a situation exists and the effects that it has. And some example signal words: because of, as a result, the effect of, sense. And then the advantage, disadvantage organizational pattern. This presents the positive and negative sides to an issue or topic. And some example signal words would be disadvantage, advantage, however, on one hand, on the other hand, better, worse. So now it's our turn to practice. You can either print out this paper and write it right over here on the side, let me know what they are, or write it on a piece of paper. It's okay to do that too, just as long as you can upload it and show us what you've done so we can make sure everybody's understanding. So practice. Read each passage below, they are below, and analyze the organizational pattern it uses. Then label it with one of the following patterns: compare and contrast, cause and effect, or advantage, disadvantage. So number one, to guard your health, learn the pros and cons of food. For example, cheese has energy-giving protein. However, it also contains harmful saturated fats. So which one is this? Is this going to be a compare and contrast, a cause and effect, or an advantage, disadvantage? Take a look back up at the chart and see which one number one falls into. Number one is an advantage, disadvantage. A couple of things that tell us that. It uses the language such as pros and cons. So we know there's going to be some good and some bad that come out of this. It also has the word however, and that is one of our signal words for a pro and con, or for an advantage, disadvantage, I'm sorry. Example 2, cheese is a good source of protein, but it's high in fat. By contrast, beans are a better source of protein and contain no saturated fats. So which one do we think that this could be? Compare and contrast, cause and effect, advantage, disadvantage. So take a look back up at your chart and see which one you think number 2 is. And number 2 is going to be a compare and contrast. And how we know this is it uses the words by contrast. And in our example signal words for compare and contrast, it gives us those exact words, by contrast. And then number 3, many Americans eat diets that are high in fat and sugar. As a result, certain illnesses such as diabetes are on the rise. This situation adds to the burden on our healthcare system. Is this compare and contrast, cause and effect, advantage, disadvantage? Looking back up at the chart, we can tell that number 3 is going to be a cause and effect. Again, look at those example signal words and you see the words as a result. Those words are also found in the example of number 3. So great job, students. All right, jumping on in. We've got a biometric body. So this is an article that is also found in our textbooks. It tells us right here at the top that this is an informational article. So we know that we're going to be informed about some different things. Looking at the picture, kind of analyze some of this, the biometric body. So biometric has something to do with some of these numbers and some computery stuff. And body, well, that's of course our body. And you can see some of that in this image right here. You see a lot of these, the numbers, ones and zeros. You see the eyeball, you see loading, verification. So we know we're going to learn a little bit of information from this. So here we go. Background. The word biometrics comes from the Greek bio, meaning life, and metric, meaning to measure. Biometrics is the use of any part of the body for identification purposes. Just about everything on your body, including your face, eyes, voice, and walk, can be scanned, turned into digital data, and used to identify you. You'll need a ticket in your fingertip to travel through the turnstiles at Walt Disney World in Orlando, Florida. A scanner captures an image of the index finger for guests aged 10 and up. Then a computer calculates a number from minute points in the image. It compares that result with data stored in the resort's ticket tag system. Preventing ticket fraud is something that benefits guests, explains Kim Prunty at Walt Disney World. If guests lose their tickets, other people can't use them and leave the real owner stranded. Having everyone show ID was another option, but that would have been far more burdensome, says Prunty. With Ticket Tag, guests zip quickly into the Magic Kingdom or other parks. Welcome to the world of biometrics. Biology and behavior. Computerized biometric systems aim to recognize individuals automatically based on the physical body and behavior. For most systems, information goes into a computer as images, recordings, or other data formats. A computer program, called an algorithm, performs mathematical calculations to convert the raw images or sound into numbers or features. The system then links the results with individuals. Features used for biometrics should be distinctive. Ideally, a system's result will link to one and only one person. Since it's impossible to test everyone, scientists use statistics to see which traits are distinctive. Features should be stable too. Your hair's appearance can change with a haircut, perm, or dyes. but you don't generally alter the shape of your hands or ears. So we've got biometrics from head to toe. I've got a picture of a face. It looks like a woman's face. How do biometric systems recognize your face? The holistic techniques about the variation of light intensities over an image of the face. Using that data, it calculates a numerical description. It turns out that the pattern of variation is distinctive to the subject, says Patrick Flynn, professor and chair of the Department of Computer Science and Engineering at the University of Notre Dame. Another approach, called the logical features technique, measures locations of the eyes, eyebrows, mouth, nose, and other facial features. The computer then analyzes the relationships between these various features. Collectively, they form a signature for the face. Three-dimensional images can be useful, but computers currently don't deal with them, as well as two-dimensional color images, notes James Wayman, senior fellow at the Office of Research at San Jose State University and director of the Biometric Identification Research Program. Thermal face images are not very reliable on their own either. Think how fast your face heats up when you're embarrassed. Sniff it out. Although every person has a unique smell, it's not a very reliable biometric. If you've just eaten a taco, the extra food smell may mask your unusual scent. However, smell sensing technology is becoming more advanced. ID at your fingertips. Fingerprint identification examines patterns and friction ridges in the fingertips. The science of studying fingerprints, loops, arches, and whorls dates back to the late 19th century. The Federal Bureau of Investigation's fingerprint database of over 50 million records is an essential law enforcement tool. Databases for biometric systems used to enter a specific location are much smaller. Generally, they store records just for the authorized users. In the case of Walt Disney World's ticket tag system, the program just stores a set of numbers derived from the fingerprint image, not the actual fingerprints. Speaker recognition systems classify a person's pattern of speech, voice prints, look like waveforms and include information about the pitch, loudness, and duration of sounds in a spoken phrase. For most systems, a person tells his or her username and then says a set word or phrase, like a password. After analysis, the system verifies if the speaker is an authorized user. Your genetic ID. DNA would be the ultimate biometric. I can never say this, y'all. DNA encodes genetic information within our cells. Imagine touching a device that grabs a few skin cells. A computer would determine your DNA profile and search its database for a match. Certainly, it would be difficult to disguise DNA or to masquerade as someone else. However, analysis could also reveal lots of private information. Whom are you related to? What diseases might you get? And so on. Privacy concerns make DNA the most spooky biometric. But we're decades away from having that. Doing rapid DNA analysis, analysis within seconds, is something that's beyond the capabilities of our current technology. Walk this way. Gait recognition systems analyze how people walk. Movements are recorded as video images. Computers analyze the patterns for distinctive images. It can be applied when people don't know that they are being recognized, notes Mark Nixon, professor in computer vision at the School of Electronics and Computer Science at the University of Southampton. Thus, while other biometric systems work to allow access, gait recognition would help facilities identify and keep out potential criminals. So why biometrics? Biometric systems aren't perfect. In 2004, an innocent man spent 2 weeks in jail after the FBI's automated fingerprint identification system AFIS mistakenly linked his fingerprint record with one found near a bombing scene. The FBI apologized afterward. People have also forged fingerprints, although usually with someone's cooperation. Variability is another problem. Your face's appearance changes with your mood, lighting, the seasons, and so on. Programmers must decide how close a match is needed to accept someone. Often the application is going to tell whether you want to minimize false accepts or false rejects. If you push one down, you have to let the other group up. If the system isn't careful enough, it might let an imposter through, a false accept. But it's also a problem if the program is too careful about matching patterns exactly. Then it might say no to a true match, a false reject. People also change with age. We don't have much information about how fingers grow. We don't have much information on aging. Some better programs update database records each time matches are made. Systems might also link data for multiple features like the face, ear, and gait. Mark Nixon says such fusion is the state of the art in biometric research. Biometric systems aren't perfect, but they can improve security and save money. Systems offer conveniences to users too. Biometric systems already control access to restricted areas at various airports, defense facilities, companies, and some schools. Check cashing services may use fingerprint scans to protect consumers and reduce fraud. At some stores, buyers even pay by touch. Fingerprint scans work like debit cards. And at Heathrow Airport, James Wayman says, "I don't wait in line. A machine scans his iris, and a printed slip welcomes him to the United Kingdom." We have our list of references down here at the bottom. These would be considered credible sources. We get some websites that were accessed. Remember, they give us a date of access. They reference a personal interview, another website, another interview. Looks like some more websites and interviews. So these are all our credible sources for the article that we just looked at. All right. So we're going to answer these questions that are on the page in front of you. They're about the article that we just read. So make sure that you did pay close attention. So personal connections. How would you feel if you always had to use your own biometrics as identification? Please explain. So we need a couple sentences here. If you always, the key word is always. If you always had to use your own biometrics as identification, make sure you explain. And then we've got some reading comprehension questions. Pause this video as you need to make sure that you allow yourself time to answer those questions. Everybody takes a different time frame to get that done. So just pause the video and then push play when you're ready to begin. So comprehension, question 2, it's a reading check. It has 3 parts to it. We need to make sure that we answer all 3 parts of this. So part A, what type of biometric identification was used as far back as the 19th century? You're going to need to go back to the article that we just read to find that answer. Question B, or part B, what information is included in a voice print? Again, you're going to need to go back to the article to find that answer. And then part C, note 2 types of places where biometric systems are already being used for security. You're going to need to go back to the article to be able to answer that question. These would be great times to go ahead and give us that text evidence, students. Let us know where you found these answers. Be able to make sure that you've double checked and that you're 100% sure that that is the correct answer. Give us the text evidence. Cite it for us. Under comprehension, it's question marked number 3, strategy. Evaluate details to determine key ideas. So cite 2 details you marked in one section of the article. Did each one connect to a key idea? Please explain. So by cite 2 examples, they want you to tell us where it's at in the article, what it is in the article. So cite 2 details you marked in one section of the article. So as we were, as you read, you're supposed to go through and mark and highlight and make notes, all that fun jazz. Analysis, question 4, and it has a part A and a part B. So part A, define. In paragraph 5, Kowalski writes that features need to be distinctive and stable. What does stable mean in his context? I suggest you go back and read paragraph 5, go back and read paragraph 5 in its entirety. Don't just stop when you see the word stable. You need to use your context clues to be able to figure out what he means by stable. Part B, analyze. Why are distinct or unstable features problematic for biometrics? Explain, citing text evidence. So again, you need to give us the text evidence as to why are indistinct or unstable features problematic for biometrics. Question 5, part A. What are false accepts and false rejects? What are false accepts and false rejects? You're going to have to go back in the article and get that answer. Part B, analyze cause and effect. Why are they an issue for biometric programmers, businesses, and customers? Explain. Why are they? They are referring to the false accepts and the false rejects. Why are false accepts and false rejects an issue for biometric programmers, businesses, and customers? Explain your reasoning. And then question 6, our last question, speculate. Do you think biometrics will evolve to become a better option in the future? Explain your thinking, citing evidence from the article. So again, you're giving us evidence from the article. You're telling us where you got your thinking from. So there's a lot of these questions, students, that want you to go back and cite evidence. So I would make sure I have a printed version of this article. And I would make sure that I'm using a highlighter or a pen or something to be able to go in and underline, especially where I found the answers to these questions. You need to underline, highlight, circle, draw attention to, make a note so it's easy for you to go back and reference. All right, fantastic students, that is what we have for today. As always, if you have questions, you're confused, you're not quite sure, reach out to your teacher. We're here to help, and we'll see you tomorrow.